It's Rex on the road. We're at a coffee shop, and we're talking about wine with Dan Podrowski, MASSICAN Winery, and the only all-white wine winery in Napa Valley.
Yeah,
That's you found a niche, right?
it feels good to be unique.
Yeah, exactly. And you were in the media business, and so how did you go from the media business, being a media guy, to becoming a winemaker?
I started my magazine career as a reader of magazines, as
Okay.
a teenager
Sure.
who decided to live vicariously through the pages of really fancy magazines.
Okay.
And then throughout my academic career in New York City, I ended up doing internships at magazines and also the New York Times Company.
Okay.
When I left college, I ended up getting a good job at Sports Illustrated.
Oh wow.
And then after a few years, moved over to Time Magazine, and I had the great opportunity at that point in time in my life to surround myself with wonderful journalists, surround myself with a lot of great advertisers and great marketing people, and spend a lot of time eating and drinking in New York City.
Okay.
And in doing so, I was exploring the world of wine through restaurants,
Right.
and I couldn't afford all the wines on the list, and I couldn't pronounce half the names of the wines on the list. So I did
Okay.
a lot of reading and studying and
Sure.
educating myself, and that gave me the kind of confidence to be, kind of like the local wine guy amongst my friends.
Oh wow. Wow. So you started out educating yourself on wine, loving food, and working in the media business. You get to eat at a lot of great places, right? I mean, coming from the media, I've eaten at a lot of great restaurants that I probably couldn't get into otherwise. And then you develop a love for wine, and from there, you educate yourself and decide that making wine might be a cool thing to do.
Yeah.
Wow, that's an incredible story. I always think, because we always think of winemakers as they were almost like out of their baby crib, they started making wine. And then that's it. They're a winemaker.
I think there's a generation of us right now. I feel like I'm in that generation of people who've changed careers,
Right.
And they've gone from one thing for love and to find a love and a passion. And my choice to do it was I wanted to spend a year, take a sabbatical. I moved to Italy,
Okay.
Work on a vineyard. I wanted to understand
place,
how
yeah.
wine was made.
Sure.
You can't learn how wine is made by reading a book. At
No.
least I'm not academic in that way.
Or just drinking it out of the bottle. You have to kind of dig a little deeper, right?
So I spent that year sabbatical working on a vineyard and came back to the United States and felt I had a better understanding of how wine grapes were grown. I wasn't an expert at all. I wasn't a winemaker when I came back, and a little bit how wine was made. So I can actually then complete my authenticity of a wine geek in the group, and in doing so, I couldn't find the right job in New York City.
Okay.
So I ended up in California, extending my stage for another 6 months in Sonoma County, making Pinot Noir and Chardonnay at Dumal, and then the winemaker at Dumal was also the consultant winemaker at Mark Mead, and he hired me full time to
Okay.
come to Napa Valley and be the cellar master back in 2007
Wow.
at Mark Mead.
So how beneficial was it working at Lark Mead before you developed your own winery and your own brand? How important was that?
It was the right time and the right place because it was a small winery, a historic winery.
Sure.
But they had just opened their doors,
Oh, wow.
built the winery in '05, built the tasting room in '06. I kind of got there when it was a really small team, so we all had to be hands-on.
Okay.
So I got to learn a lot about all different aspects of not only the business, but running a facility and understanding and watching and seeing how the hospitality and the sales work. And then being a New Yorker and having connections in New York, I got to go to New York a lot on sales trips and hang with the distributors. I knew all the
wow.
restaurants, I knew all the somms, I knew everybody out there.
So I mean, that was
So
like,
I couldn't have asked for a better, kind of springboard into the business.
so a great ground level job that really helped you define and see what's going on in the wine industry as a whole.
Yeah,
Right.
no,
Oh,
for sure.
That's great.
And that was, taking all of that kind of externality and osmosis knowledge. I built a business plan for MASSICAN, really because I thought that, Napa Valley as a Mediterranean climate wasn't taking advantage of drinking Mediterranean wines. We were drinking really sunshine-filled, fruit-forward, delicious, bold red wines or white wines in that instance as well. Similarly with Sonoma County. So MASSICAN came out of my cultural desire to drink to the climate and to the place, and so I wanted to make these kind of like salty and floral and saline. Fresh white wines, citrusy white wines.
Now, something I think that you do, that a lot of wineries do, is you find a niche, something that you're really good at, and something that maybe isn't being serving the market extremely, with a lot of wineries making that kind of wine. So that must have went into it too. Is that, hey, there's probably a market here.
Yeah, I do think that we're very fortunate. I mean, again, I come from a New York City where there's 10 restaurants on the street, so I know that you can have a multitude of similar product, a place where someone goes and eats and is welcomed and is served food and is nourished. It doesn't need to be a steakhouse, it can be a Chinese restaurant, it could be a Mexican fast food joint, it could be a McDonald's. They still are nourishing. So I come from a belief that there's success in multiplicity, and so my brand would find a home, even though at the time it was incredibly alternative for Napa and or Sonoma.